You can live a life full of love and light if you just let the Spirit guide you. It's the remedy where you'll find peace, but you must let the Spirit guide you.
Who made y'all priests?
What's up, world? This is our Fafore.
What's going on, good people? This is our Oseun. Welcome back to another episode of the Who Made Y'all Priest podcast, where we talk about our spiritual journeys, our everyday life experiences, and the issues of the times from the perspective of two people who just happen to be priests. Fafore, what's going on, man?
What's going on, good brother? How you feeling?
Man, I feel alive. I feel inspired. I feel blessed, man. I'm ready to get this episode out there, man. Out there to the people. What's going on?
Man, nothing much. Hey, man, I was thinking the other day, I had a question I want to ask you. Do you get into like New Year's resolutions? Do you make those?
I haven't made a New Year's resolution in some years now, in quite a few years. I think New Year's resolutions are yearly procrastinations. That's what I think they are. So if you make a New Year's resolution in October about something that you want to do January 1, then you could have done it in October. So I don't get into the New Year's resolution type thing. What about you?
I don't like to look at it as New Year's resolution. I do a lot of planning. You know, that's just me in general. And I know we talk about things all the time, like, you know, even coming into this year, we were talking about things that we wanted to do this year. So I would kind of look at that as a New Year's resolution. But I was just thinking to myself for things that I wanted to do in this year. And it's early in the year, right? Mm-hmm. Which is good as opposed to it being like it's October.
Right.
But I was thinking, like, am I off to a good start?
Mm.
And I don't know. I feel like I'm not as disciplined in my processes like I wanted to be.
Mm.
You know, I think I've been trying to like do things, little things to kind of tweak and tighten up how I want to be, but it's not like regimented, like boom, boom, boom yet. You know, and I was just thinking about that the other day because I was in the gym. I was thinking to myself, like the gym already thinning out.
Right.
You know, and maybe they really thinning out. Maybe it really, it never hit that point like in years past.
Mm.
But I felt like it was a little bit busier than it is now already. And I was just thinking to myself, it made me want to reflect and say, where am I with the plans that I had for this year? So I really want in the next, I'm going to say 2 weeks, I really need to have my process kind of like solidified and just so for the rest of the year I can hit it. So for the family out there, if y'all already at that place where y'all like you haven't started yet or you kind of been dancing around or playing with a little bit, go ahead and get started.
Man, you know, but I think that's a little bit different than New Year's resolutions, right? You know, us talking about, you know, you and I both are going into a personal year 8 along with the universal year 8. And we talked about plans and things that we wanted to do in this year 8 based on the energy of the year 8. I think the beautiful thing about what you and I are talking about right now is that we always question ourselves, that we are always asking ourselves the question, am I doing everything I could be doing? Am I doing everything that I need to do to get from where I am to where I want to be? Am I exhausting everything and to make that happen, to make these plans come into fruition? I think that's entirely different from a New Year's resolution, because when I think about a New Year's resolution, I think about making a plan close to the end of the previous year about something that you're going to start on January 1 that more than likely has nothing to do with the energy of that year. Like you say, you go to the gym and it's starting to thin out already. Most people make New Year's resolutions about getting healthy, about losing weight, about going to the gym, those types of things. If you made that New Year's resolution in October, then you could have started going to the gym in October if that's what you wanted to do. But yeah, I believe planning. You know, I'm a process person. I'm a
Right,
planning person. I'm gonna think it out. I don't like surprises and things like that. But
right.
I think this year, or since I found the knowledge of numerology and things like, well, I don't have the knowledge of numerology. Since you have the knowledge of numerology, and you can tell me about, hey, you know, we going into our personal year 8. This is what the year 8. This is the energy of the year 8. You know, planning to do this thing, that thing, and the other. I think New Year's resolutions are kind of obsolete when you think about it in that fashion.
So I think we just have a spiritually based, informed New Year's resolution. Like you said, it's about the energy of the year.
Right.
It's about whatever that yearly Odu was in our reading of the year. So we have it. It's just more spiritually focused as opposed to, you know, something that may have to do with solely a personal desire.
Right.
You know, so, you know, and one thing that you said about me having the information, like you always say, if you know it, I know it.
Right.
Team. You know what I'm saying?
Right, definitely. Long as you got it, we got it.
Right.
Yeah, long as you got it, we got it, man. I appreciate that too. Hey, but I'm really getting ready to buckle down into some numerology. I think I sent you a book that I wanted to check out on numerology. I don't think it's basic enough for me. So I think I'm a back up from that one because it's already adding other stuff like Tantra and Ayurvedic medicine and all of that. So I think I'm a back up from that, get into basic numerology, learning the numbers. I think I'm trying to do too much at one time. So yeah,
I
man.
meant to say something to you too, because when I read the title, I said, oh, they got a lot going on in there.
Right. I read the sample too. You know, every time I see a book that I want and they got a Kindle version, I always download the sample and start reading the sample. And I start reading the sample of that book. I was like, yeah, nah, this is too much right here. I need to back up from this and get into some basic numerology. But man, I'm easily bored. I'm always reading one book and it mentions another and that I want that book and get into that book. So I'm always learning a little bit about a lot and not really mastering, I guess, anything. I want to change that here soon. I want to change that and really buckle down and start to focus on one thing at a time.
And that's where I am. So, you know, my focus is astrology going into this year. And I'm having this issue where I just ordered all these books about a lot of different topics.
Right.
And, you know, I might skim through one just to like, oh, let me just see what it's about. And I'm like, ooh, man, this looks good.
Yeah.
And I find myself being pulled in different directions. But at some point, I kind of just got to sit down. This is the time I'm going to dedicate to astrology. This is the time I'm going to dedicate to some other things. So I just ordered 3 astrology books. You know, I'm kind of starting from scratch. I'm going back over, you know, the planets, the signs, the houses. Not even synthesizing those things, but just on their own. What are the energies of those different things?
Right.
You know, what do they mean? And then start from there and then start to get into the more advanced aspects of astrology. And I want to take my time because, again, I really, really want to master it because way my natal chart is set up, this is something that's supposed to be a focus for me.
Right.
So I do want to buckle down, but I'm going to give myself 2024 to really master the basics, and then from there on, really start getting to more advanced concepts.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I just ordered some more books too on some different things. I just you know how I am about the stories of Ifa, the mythology of Ifa.
right.
I love those stories. So I just got another book on the stories of Ifa. And then there was this video, right? Like I love to see, and this is not a knock at any religion. I love to see people question their beliefs in their spiritual system. I
Right.
love to see them challenged. And I watched a video of a man who had been a pastor for some years and began to question his faith in Christianity after he went to a seminar where these other black men were had said that Horus was the first virgin born God or the virgin born child that died and was
Right.
resurrected. That was something that he struggled with. He really questioned that. And he told the story of him being in a meeting with the mayor and finishing that meeting, and then there being a bookstore right across the street, him going into that bookstore, asking where the religion and philosophy section was, and finding a book called Osiris and the Egyptian Resurrection. And he read that book, and he said that he could no longer preach the gospel in the way that he had preached it years prior. So I ordered that book also. I want to see what's in that book. Again, this is going into the mythology. All of these mythologies are the same. They're just told through a different cultural lens. These deities have different names. They may, because of culture, have different stories attached, but the energies are the same. So I ordered that book also. It's long too. It's like 1,000 pages.
Goodness gracious.
It's a long book, and then it's a E.A. Wallace Budge book. So you know
Okay.
it's thorough. It's thorough. But yeah, so I'm being pulled in different directions too. But I'm gonna buckle down and really settle into the mythology of Ifa, and then this comparative mythology. That's
Yeah.
kind of what I want to get into. Yeah.
So as always, since we are one another's
Our accountability.
accountability. Boy, I couldn't
There
think
you
of that
go.
word to save my life. Accountability partner. Yeah. So we have to make sure we focus. I'm gonna blame you because I try. Sometimes I try not to share with you the books that I got because I don't want you running down and then trying to buy all the books and get unfocused. But I did have to send you the one book that I just got the other day.
Right.
And then here you go, send me a page. Let me see what it's talking about. I ordered a couple more, books from that same guy on a couple other old dudes. So
yeah.
It's but we gonna focus.
Oh yeah, we gonna focus.
Yeah.
We gonna focus.
So what we got going on today for the people?
Man, I think it'll be a good episode for us to talk about why bad things happen to good people, the concept of good and evil, good and bad, that type of thing. Really, really getting into to that and how that works in the cosmology of Ifa.
Oh yeah, that's right. That is what we're talking about today. The beautiful thing about this isn't something that we came up with to do. We have a friend of the show, one of our friends, we actually interviewed her, Hi Ali. She was the one back in season 2. She did the episode on Islam.
Right.
And so we were talking, and she mentioned the whole concept about why do bad things happen to good people. Mm-hmm. And we're like, it's something that y'all should think about addressing on the show.
Right.
So here we are, addressing it on the show.
Right. Yeah, addressing it on the show. So that question, we could tackle that question. Why do bad things happen to good people?
Right.
So I want to preface what I'm about to say with the fact that I know that some of the things that I'm going to say are going to come off as abrasive, it's going to come off as insensitive, but I'm making an attempt to step out of
Trigger warning.
trigger warning, right? Right. I'm making an attempt to step out of the emotions that may be attached to this subject and just talk about it objectively. So why do bad things happen to good people? I'm of the belief, or I come from the perspective that every experience that each individual has, they ask for it. Now, that's abrasive. That's hard to take because there are some people out there that have had very dark experiences, and
Right.
it would almost seem as if this is victim blaming, and
Right.
that's not the case at all. Ifa teaches us that while still in the spirit realm, that there were decisions that we made there that would directly affect how our lives turned out here. That while still in the spirit realm, we decided when we would be born. We decided who our parents would be. We decided where we would be born. We decided when we were supposed to die. And in the midst of that, we decided what experiences we needed to have so that we could evolve spiritually. So I think bad things happen to good people because the good people ask for those experiences. And for me, one of three ways. You either ask for it while still in the spirit realm before incarnating here. You either ask for it by perpetrating some type of behavior act in a past life or past lives, or through your behavior and the vibrations that you exude in the here and now. One of in one of those three ways, you ask for the experience that you deem as dark. And usually, we only talk about the dark experiences. We only talk about the bad experiences and not the good ones. But whether we judge them good or bad, all of the experiences that we've had, they all lead back to us. I remember our Luo telling us, "All roads lead back to you. No matter what happens, all roads lead back to you." So
Right.
that's the perspective that I come from. That's how I see um, that. That's how I would answer that question. What about you?
He always also says it's not your fault, but it is your experience.
It is your experience, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That does sound really harsh.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the type of thing that you can go up to somebody and say, you asked for that rape.
And I wouldn't.
You know, it's oh, I know you wouldn't say that.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say you asked for your house to burn down. You asked to be homeless. You asked to have that experience, you know, in order to grow and evolve. Especially you couldn't have that conversation with someone as they were going through that experience.
Right.
Right. Because, you know, the emotional part of who we are wouldn't be able to receive that at that time. But exactly what you said, the thing about when I think of good and bad, the first thing that I wanted to do is like define what that means, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought about that, good or bad, and good are things that you want to have happen, right? And the things that are bad are things that you don't want to have happen. Like we look at good as things that are like beneficial or favorable,
Right.
and bad are things that are unfavorable or unfortunate, things of that nature. And that comes from perspective, right? It's us not having the proper perspective. And I know like the Odu, Okuran Meji, it talks about this concept of like second sight and intuition. And that's where it talks a lot about like the alignment between the head and the heart and that balance, right? So that you can perceive things as they are through this second sight. Because without that second sight, you perceive things in black and white only.
Mm.
So when we talk about good or bad, that's how we're perceiving it. is black and white. There's no other options. But with this second sight, this balance in your emotions, this connectivity between the heart and the head, you're able to see all the colors, right? You're able to see that most things aren't black and white, but there are various shades of gray and in other colors in there. So that's what I think about, much like you said, when it comes to good things or bad things happening to good people. And I also think of it like this too. I remember reading somewhere somebody saying that not to judge a day as being a good day or a bad day until its last day. Because you don't know what that experience led to, right? You don't understand in the midst of going through that storm what's brewing, right? What are you being prepared for? What are you being pushed away from? What are you being pushed towards? I remember, long time ago, when I was in college. College was the best 8 years of my life, like by far. And this is just 8 years for my undergraduate degree. This wasn't like I didn't leave out a doctor or anything like that, but that was just for my 4-year degree. But I remember being in the middle of my second junior year. So that probably was like around year 7. My chapter was accused of hazing, and I was one of the 3 people who were named as being a part of this hazing ring. And so I remember having to go meet with the head of judicial affairs and having a conversation with the guy. And I remember him asking me about hazing. I was like, man, look, I don't know what you're talking about. Nobody doing any hazing. Kappa Alpha Psi is a non-hazing organization. We teach, train, and motivate for leadership since 1911. I mean, I gave him the whole spiel, right? He said, man, I know how y'all get down. Like, I'm telling you, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, look, how about we do this? You just tell me that you hazed this guy because you were hazed, and you won't have any repercussions. You'll be good to go. I said, hey, man, that sounds good. I really wish I could help you, but I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
He said, all right, this is going to go up, and, it's going to be a hearing. You got to testify to that. I said, okay, cool. So go and testify, right? Now, I haven't been in, even to this day, at my big age, I've never been in trouble. I've never been arrested. I've never had handcuffs put on, never been back of a police. No, nothing like that, right?
Right.
So I leave the hood, go away to college, and now I got to deal with this scenario.
All right, good job, by the way.
Appreciate you. So I'm in there, and we talking, and he's giving me the dates, right? Because, well, no, take it back. They gave me the letter, letting me know what was going on beforehand. So I said, okay, cool. I was prepared. So I go in, and he said, between this date and this date, you had, you did this, and that. I'm not tripping because I got the big joker. And they don't even know I got the big joker.
Right.
Right? So I'm listening. I said, well, so it's my turn to talk, to defend myself. I pull out my membership card and I say, this is when I joined the fraternity. The majority of that stuff that they said happened was before I was even a member. Like, I'm good.
Right.
slap my card down on the table. I'm ready to walk out for real. So it's over with. Two of my other frat brothers go and they testify, they do their thing. Sometime later, this is like the end of spring quarter. We were on quarters. So this is the end of the year. And I'm about to go into my last year, my second senior year, my 8th year. I get a letter that said, you are suspended from school as of this date for hazing. I said, dang. Like, I wasn't even a member. How that even work?
Right.
So I'm like, what I'm going to do? Like, I'm supposed to graduate next year. I can't go back to the hood, like, for a year.
Right.
I said, nah, I
lot,
can't do that.
It's a lot can happen in the hood in a year.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to do all that. You know what I'm saying? I got to go home. People looking at me like, what happened to you? You know what I'm saying? I thought you was going to college and this, that. Now you back here with, I ain't want none of that experience, right?
Right.
So I immediately try to find ways to stay. So luckily I found a way. I found a place that, I could rent out on the hustle for some time, and I could just stay there. And then, so I wouldn't have to go home.
Mm.
So I was like, for like 2 weeks, I was just like, man, I was devastated, right? Devastated. I found me a place to stay. This dude I knew was messing with this chick who had like a crib at the like the low income. It was like the project, but we like a suburb of Dayton, so that it ain't really the project, but it looked like the project.
Right.
But it ain't. But she had a lease for like 6, 7, 8 months down the line, something like that. And she had left though. She had moved out, but her furniture and everything was there. So dude was like, yeah, you can stay there and just pay me like $250 a month. Bet. So I had a crib, I had somewhere to stay. So I was good. I ain't had to go home.
Right.
I'm a good person. Something bad happened to me. That year while I was suspended was the greatest year of my 8 years in undergrad. Right. And I'm talking about them other 7 was dope. But this one, whoo, man, it was the greatest. The year was so great that when I got the letter that said you can be reinstated, I didn't even go right away. Because I had found a hustle where I was going to the community college. I had like a couple of like a little electives that I could take at the community college that would transfer back. So I went to the community college. Not only was they in grants, not even no loans, they was paying everything, and I was getting like $1,800 a quarter. Living. I'm talking about, man, I was kicking it, partying. So it was the best year of my life. But I will say this too. In that year though, I had grown to where when I went back to school, I was ready to graduate. Like I was like, all right, I'm ready to go now. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because I had graduated with probably the most credit hours in school history. You know what I'm saying? Like my mom would be like, I don't understand why you're still in school. Like you get A's and B's. Like I see how are you still there? And I'm like, man, they got all these general requirements. They making us take this, that, and the other line. I was taking weightlifting. I took weightlifting like 5 times. I took bowling several times. Yeah. I was just clowning, right? Because I wasn't ready to leave. But when I went back, I was ready to leave. And so not only did I have a lot of fun, but I did grow and mature through my experiences of that year that were all very beautiful experiences. But it was like, okay, I am ready now to graduate.
Right.
Without that experience, I might have been in school another 2 years. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, again, it's one of those situations. I thought at the time it was the end of the world. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do. But I'm glad it played itself out like that.
Right. You know, good and bad are subjective concepts. I'm reminded of the book that we read, or that was read to us when we took our Road to Priesthood class, The Little Soul in the Sun. I bought that book shortly after that book was read to us in that class, and I felt like that children's story was adapted from a much larger book called Conversations with God, and that was a small section of a very large book that was adapted into a children's story called A Little Soul in the Sun. And in this book, it tells the story of a soul while still in the spirit realm that wants to come to earth. But when it gets to earth, it wants to experience forgiveness. And we all know that the only way to experience forgiveness is to have something happen to us for which we are able to forgive. So there was another soul that enters the stage and tells the first soul that I will come to earth with you and provide you with the experience that you need so that you will be able to forgive me, so that you can experience forgiveness. So I think that this is another thing that that we have to look deeply into, is the people that give us the experiences that we deem as dark or bad, that possibly, especially when you get into the concept of ekbe and things like that,
Right.
possibly you call someone to earth with you for the sole purpose of giving you an experience that you would deem as dark, for you to gain some type of lesson, for you to evolve, for you to grow, for you to shift, for you to change. Because none of us can go back to this thing that we call God, this thing that we believe is perfect. We can't go back to it imperfectly. So I think for us to fully re-merge with the source, we have to have all of these experiences that we deem as dark. We have to learn all of these lessons so that we can evolve to the point of perfection. I think that this is the story of Jesus playing out, which for me, I see in all of the spiritual systems. It's this story of Jesus playing out where Jesus is us. Jesus is all of us. I learned this pretty Greek word while we was going through the lodge, and that was apotheosis. I remember the painting of George Washington as he's standing on his square and he has all these different Masonic symbols around him, and he's standing on the cloud. And the painting is called The Apotheosis of George Washington. And apotheosis means to rise to the level of God, pretty much. It means to become God, to elevate, to become God. This is what Jesus did. This is what all of us are here to do. For us to become perfect, though, we have to have these experiences that we deem as dark, learn the lessons, glean the medicine from those lessons, and become more evolved and better spiritually. So again, good and bad are two sides of the same coin, just like Iray and Osobo that we talk about in Ifa. Iray and Osobo are two sides of the same coin, and we are always going back and forth in between those things. When you read the Kabbalion and we start to talk about the principle of polarity and rhythm, when we start to look into those things, then we know that Iray and Osobo are polarities, and that we are always going back and forth between the two. So it's all subjective, like you say, different various shades of gray and different colors in there in between that black and white.
Right. I'm glad you brought up apotheosis. I got another pretty, and it's probably Greek word as well. Hypothesis.
hypothesis.
My hypothesis is that the story of Jesus is a depiction of the concept of Ipanri.
Mm.
It's the perfect self wrapped in flesh to live on earth as a human to demonstrate how things should be.
Mm.
It's to be an example.
Mm.
To me, that's where I feel like it was derived from, or both Ipanri and Jesus. If Jesus isn't Ipanri, then they come from the concept that come from the same thing, so they have the same source.
Right.
Which, to me, all religions and spiritual traditions have a very similar, if not the same, source. It's a tree with many different branches, and that if you follow it, it'll get you to the same place. The thing is, though, when we understand our destiny and purpose, we understand what branch best works for us in that given lifetime.
There you go.
And that tradition that you may be so in love with may not be the tradition for you in this lifetime.
Mm.
You and I read and have read about various different systems, and we take bits and pieces from all of them. I've said it many, many times. I absolutely love Taoism.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a beautiful system. I think it's a very practical system. The yogi tradition, the 8 limbs, not just the thing where you stretch it. Very beautiful.
Right.
Hinduism, I love the stories in Hinduism. We talk all the time about how I was not a fan of the stories. I'm not a big fan of the stories that come out of Nigeria, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Mm.
But the Cuban ones,
man,
I love those stories though.
Right. Those are some amazing stories. Now, before you get to because I'm gonna forget, and you said something about Jesus being Ipanri.
Mm-hmm.
When I was still a Christian and I wanted to study the writings and the beliefs of those who practice what we call Christianity today before 325 AD and the Nicene Council. I started to read the writings of Clement of Alexandria. And Clement of Alexandria said that the word of God became man so that man can learn from man, that man can become God.
Yeah.
So just what you said, that this is Ipanri, or the perfect self, the highest self wrapped in flesh, to come and demonstrate to you that, look, it can be done. I want you to see that it can be done. Now you go and do it.
Right.
Yeah, now you go and do it.
Because when you look at the Ori and the Ori complex, there's no other aspect of the Ori that could do that.
Right.
But the Ipanri. You know what I'm saying? So to me, when I've always, from the very moment I read about Ipanri, I was like, this is Jesus. That's that Christ consciousness energy. Again, the perfect self wrapped in flesh to be an example.
Right.
Because what happened is people didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or people had excuses as to why it couldn't be done. Because that's what our emotions do. Our emotions provide us excuses, and it makes us comfortable with why we can't be what we came here to be. Right. Why I can't achieve that. Oh yeah, so you have money, but I don't. And I don't have money because of this experience, right? And then that's why they say misery loves company, because all energy has a magnetism to it.
Right.
All energy attracts like energy. That's why we talk about speaking positivity, thinking positively, so you can attract that type of energy. Mm-hmm. So misery loves company because there's security in the fact that I'm not doing nothing, you're not doing anything, you're not doing anything. So I don't feel the need to have to do anything because I'm surrounded by people in the same space as I am.
Right.
And then when somebody who's different comes around, then we all can make up our excuses as to why they're able to do that and we're not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but when we go back to the whole idea of good and bad, or positive and negative, right? Especially when it comes to emotions. When we feel those negative emotions, that is a spiritual signal of an imbalance.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you feel anger, frustration, despair, fear, anxiety, the first thing that should come to your mind is, I am out of balance. I am out of alignment. In nature, everything tries to seek equilibrium or balance.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow, we as humans have, through emotions and our mindsets, have found a way to pull away from that, right? That's why we get hit with these experiences. These experiences are sent by way of our higher self to shake that up, to get us outside of that comfort zone, to move us from that place that we don't need to be in because that place doesn't serve us, but because of this concept of bad and these negative emotions, we're refusing to move from. So
Right.
then we have these things that happen to us that may be external to us to force us to do something different.
Mm.
So from now on, whenever you have those quote unquote negative emotions, think, where is the imbalance in my emotions and my physical self and my spiritual self and my mental self that's causing this to happen?
Right.
You know. Also, though, you brought up, Iray and Osobo. So that made me think about one of our favorite stories.
Right.
And the Cuban story that we really love, And I want to read this short story about Iray and Osobo. So, Iray and Osobo were twin brothers, yet they lived as rivals. Both coveted supremacy over the earth, and neither desired parity. In the beginning, they argued as friends. They chose their words carefully, each not wanting to hurt the other's feelings. Time impassioned their words, and they were harsh. The passage of centuries brought battles and wars for power, each epoch bringing more chaos until there was no peace on earth. Olofin could take no more, and from heaven he commanded enough. The skies rumbled, the world trembled, and every living thing hid in shadows. Never before had Olofin raised his voice. As its sound echoed and waned over earth, silence ensued. Even the air was still, but thick with anticipation. Iray and Osobo were hushed. Neither brother dared defy Olofin in his anger. Taking form in their midst, Olofin demanded, "This war ends now." He raised a powerful black fist. That's hilarious. He raised a powerful black fist, withered by age, as he gestured at both. Brothers should not raise hand against brother. Today, each of you will make Ebo, and when you are done making Ebo, you will come see me. I alone will decide which of you is greater on the earth. Olofin's form wavered in the air before dissolving like a desert mirage. The twins, still stunned, looked at each other with wide eyes. Then they retreated to opposite ends of the earth. Once alone, smugly, Iray smiled to himself. He looked up at the skies and spoke into the air. I do not need to make Ebo. No one on earth desires death. No one desires sickness. No one desires any of life's misfortunes. That's Osobo. Every living thing invites me into their homes and their lives with each prayer they offer to heaven. All of the world's hopes and dreams and desires begin and end with me. Satisfied that Olofin would make him supreme regardless of his disobedience, Ire settled into a comfortable, peaceful sleep. Osobo knew his brother and knew his arrogance. To himself, he thought, when goodness is the way, I, misfortune, am all that remains. I am everywhere in the world. It is the natural order for things to fail and decay. I will make my Ebo. I will make it twice. I will make it 3 times over. This I will do, not because I desire to be greater, because already I am the greatest, but because Olofin himself has ordered it. Osobo made Ebo as Olofin mandated, and while Ire continued to sleep, he did it again and again. Obedience was pleasing to Olofin, and obedient was what Osobo wanted to be. Satisfied that he had done his best, Osobo gathered himself up and flew into heaven, knocking at Olofin's door. Olofin was surprised when he saw Osobo so soon, and he was concerned that Ire was not with him. "Where's your brother?" he asked. Osobo's face cracked in an evil grin as he said, "My brother Ire did not feel he had to make Ebo. He was tired and he went to sleep after you left. He still sleeps down on the earth. He sleeps while humans and Orishas alike pray for his blessings. He sleeps while I tirelessly do the work that I was born to do." Olofin's all-seeing eyes scanned the earth for Ire, and he saw that it was true. Ire was sleeping, smugly convinced that goodness, in spite of his refusal to make Ebo, would be supreme on the earth. Olofin looked at Osobo and saw, in spite of all the evils he embodied, that he was the one brother who was obedient and did what he, Olofin, asked. With a mighty wave of his hand, Olofin conjured Ire to appear before him. He wiped the sleeping confusion from his eyes as Olofin pronounced, "To end the eternal warring between you and your brother, I demanded that you both make Ebo. After making your Ebo, I demanded that you both come before me for my final decree. Ire, you slept while the world begged your blessings, and your brother Osobo made his Ebo not once but 3 times over." A horrible expression of fear and confusion crept over Ire's face as Olofin continued. "Osobo, because you made Ebo, you are first in all things. You are not that which is desired, but you are that which fills the world. You are not that which is called, but you are the one who will come. For being obedient, you are the greatest and the most powerful. Humans will get but one chance to ask for a blessing, and if a blessing does not come, you will be all that remains. Humans will get but one chance to hold onto that blessing, and if they are not obedient, it will melt away as if it were never there. You will be all that remains." Olofin took a deep breath and looked lovingly at Osobo. "And for your obedience, my son, know this, that although you think all you bring to the world is evil, with your misfortunes will come much good. For it is human nature to seek out blessings to grow and evolve into something greater. Because of you, civilizations will grow and flourish as they try to banish you back into the shadows. Great books will be written and art will be created. The weak will be destroyed and the strong will become stronger. Each generation will grow into something greater and more powerful because tragedy encourages human nature to grow and persevere, while undeserved blessings make the heart grow weak and lazy. You will be both the catalyst and motivation for my creations to achieve great things." Ire was silent. His disobedience cost him much. So it has been since that day. Misfortunes follow humanity always, and those who hope to achieve anything great in life must do it with great suffering and sacrifice. Osobo became the first and the greatest, not because he was sought by those living on earth, but because of the two brothers. He was the only one who made a bow. This was the beginning of the world's evolution. And let the church say, Ashe.
Ashe. Ashe. That's a beautiful story, man. I love that story. It's reminiscent of Cain and Abel. It's
Mm-hmm.
reminiscent of um, the battle within the self, that the lower self and the higher self. I think the most important part of the story, though, is when Olofin is telling Osopo what he think he is and what he
Mm-hmm.
really is to humanity. That it is all a misfortune. That it is those experiences that we deem as dark that are the catalyst behind pushing us forward and evolving us, making us move, shift, and change and grow into the people that we need to be. For me, that's the most important part of the story, and because we, as humans, we so readily remember the darker experiences that we have. So, of course,
Yep.
many of our lessons will come from those experiences that we deem as dark. That's a beautiful story.
Right, right. And our Luo always says that the devil is symbolized with having the pitchfork in order to get to poke you in order to get you to move.
Right.
I was watching a video from a psychologist that said the way our mindset is set up, that we work harder to prevent things that we deem as negative than we do to create things that we think are positive.
Mm.
And then he even went so far using examples like, so for instance, we'll work harder to save $1 than we will to make one.
Mm.
So yeah, man. Osobo negativity definitely has its place. What the things that we deem as bad, I agree, are definitely more powerful. Our Lua always said, like when it comes to yearly readings, especially, he said, "Man, Osobo is good. It's gonna keep you on your toes."
Mm-hmm.
You know. So
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, man. And we have to take the so-called good with the bad. Wherever there is good, there is likely bad, and wherever there is bad, there is likely good. They are both uh, two sides of the same coin. Uh,
mm-hmm.
and just in that, I remember reading the same author, Ochani Lele. That was from the book Teachings of the Sanctity of Gods. In some of his other books, he talked about. Um, he has a book called Osopo, and he talks about Ire being single, Ire being singular and alone, and Osopo being legion. Beautiful books, beautiful books. And he goes into Osobo giving birth to the 16, what they call Osobos and what we call
Mm-hmm.
Ajogun. And those 16 each giving birth to 16 more. So how Osobo is legion, is plentiful, and how Ire is singular, and how we would have to work harder uh, to achieve Ire. Again, this is reminiscent of the Genesis story and some of the things that God told Adam, that you would have to toil in the earth to bring forth the things that you want. It's so
Mm-hmm.
reminiscent of that Genesis story. What makes the Genesis story now seem bipolar is because we're talking about what's supposed to be one God. I remember reading the 12th planet, Zechariah Sitchin, and he's talking about the Sumerian tablets and all of these different stories that were told by the Sumerians and the Babylonians, or those people around Mesopotamia, and how those same stories were told in the Bible, but told from the perspective of one God. How God could be passionate and graceful one minute, and then in another tell the children of Israel to go into a land that's not theirs, that is already occupied, and to kill every man, woman, child, and animal. I think those stories are better told by the ancients, because then you can kind of understand the different aspects of God. So again, all these stories are being told. The same stories are being told through different cultural lenses. I think we have to get away from trying to interpret these stories as literal and look at them as the allegories that they are, the metaphors that they are. And yeah, we can start to get a better understanding of good and evil, positive and negative, dark and light.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, I think that's a wrap, bro.
Man, this was a good episode, man. I'm glad we got a chance to read that story. That's one of my favorite stories in that book, next to the birth of Unle. But I love the Cuban stories, man. I love the Santeria stories. I love them.
Yeah.
I love
That's what got me hooked, man. When you used to be like, man, you got to read these stories. I'm like, man, these stories, I just can't get with them. Every now and again, you know, the Nigerian story, I will come across one. I'll be like, I mean, that's cool, but. And then when you came across Ochani Lele, and you was like, nah, get this book. I'm like, man, I ain't trying to. There you go with them stories. He's like, no, I'm telling you, you're going to like this one. And I'm like, all right. And I don't remember which one I got first. And I was like, oh yeah, this is good, you know. So yeah, man, it's a wrap, man. It's a wrap, you know. Perspective, man. Perspective is everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way you get out of that whole thing of good or bad is by understanding, you know, your destiny and purpose. So if you want to accept Olodumare as your personal Lord and Savior,
we have an altar call. Right now.
Yeah. If you want to accept your Ori as your personal Lord and Savior, you know, just hit us up in the DM. We'll get you situated.
Right.
And them DMs, it's on Instagram. who.made.y'all.priest. And on TikTok, make sure I don't mess this up.
Right.
Who made y'all priest 11?
11. There you go.
Yeah, that's it. So IG fam, TikTok, hit us up. Hit us up in the DMs. Hey, if y'all got a question about something and y'all want us to talk about it on the podcast, like our homegirl Haya did, appreciate you, Haya.
Appreciate you, Haya.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, hit us in the DMs. You know, send us an email, WMYP, which is Who Made Y'all Priest, at yahoo.com. Y'all can reach us that way as well. And let us know your question. You know, we'll talk about it and we may make it into a whole episode.
Right.
So, but we appreciate y'all, family. We appreciate y'all we appreciate y'all for coming through, rocking with us again, man. We appreciate all the love. Don't forget to hit that like button. We need that like button hit.
Okay.
Make sure you subscribe. Comment, you know. Let us know what you think. Let us know your opinion on the things that we discussed. Please share your auntie them. They need some spirituality in their life, you know.
Right.
Yeah, you know. Hit us up, because if you don't share, subscribe, and like, then we're gonna have to start talking about messy stuff. We're gonna start being messy.
Right. We're gonna have to rebrand ourselves, become some whole other stuff.
Yeah, we got to start banging on other priests on the podcast.
Right.
We don't want to be messy. You know what I'm saying? That is not Iwa Pele. So we don't want to get messy. No, but yeah, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. You know, till next time. Always remember, I'm gonna go back on this one. Life's a journey. Don't forget the map. Peace.